Let's get lucky.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'd make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Drama on the court for the first day of the U.S. Open, plus Patriots great. Devin McCourty talks the kickoff of the NFL season with us. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Foreign Office Sports Today from FOS Studios in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington, and thank you guys so much for joining us on this Monday as we're chatting every weekday about the biggest stories happening in the business and culture of sports. We're also talking about Tommy Fleetwood's first PGA Tour win in his 15-year career. But first, let's dive right into the shoot.
Yeah, indeed, Renee. And let's start in the NFL as Terry McLaurin is finally getting his big contract with the Commanders. This is ESPN's Adam Schefter says the two sides agreed on a 3-year contract extension worth $96 million. This will end McLaurin's hold-in and get him in uniform for the regular season opener, all against the Giants. So we were waiting for Terry McLaurin to get paid, and he finally is getting his DK Metcalf money.
And as we talked on Friday, his quarterback, Jaden Daniels, said he felt 100% confident a deal would get done. And then with that trade for Brian Robinson being sent to the 49ers, it felt like the dominoes were all falling in Terry McLaurin's favor. And Scary Terry gets to stay. He was looking to get a deal to put him in that conversation with the 8 receivers that signed contract extensions this offseason, making $30 million or more per year. And he's right there. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, he's right in the mix with them with this deal. And it does get him that extension past the final year of what he was in for his 3-year previous $69.6 million contract. Well deserved.
Well, let's move to college football as true freshman and ESPN's #1 overall recruit, Bryce Underwood, named Michigan's starting quarterback. That ahead of their season opener against New Mexico. This all according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. Now, Underwood is expected to be the highest paid true freshman in history, reportedly signing a 4-year, $12.5 million NIL deal with Michigan, funded in part, Renee, by Oracle billionaire Larry Ellison.
Yeah, and I was reading a report from ESPN that was saying how great power schools quarterbacks are making around $3 million in this NIL era. They broke it down by position. This is on brand for where NIL money is. And for a guy that just turned 18 years old on August 19th, gifted his teammates beats, gifted his parents a car, even gifted his high school janitor. This is remarkable, as you mentioned, the highest paid that he's going to become as a true freshman in history, the youngest true freshman in Michigan history, the 4th true freshman ever to start at quarterback for Michigan. And so at 6'4", 228 pounds, he's got high expectations, comparisons to Vince Young, and already has been showing his team that he's not only good on the field, but also gets the guys around him better, according to the coaching staff. So I'm excited for this young talent.
Plus, he's a local from Michigan, so it adds even more to this story as well for them. Well, let's move to soccer as Bay FC set a NWSL and women's sport attendance record over the weekend. They played in front of a sold-out crowd of 40,091. This at San Francisco's Oracle Park. That is the biggest crowd for any U.S. women's professional sporting league. The previous record was set last year when the Chicago Stars hosted Bay FC at Wrigley Field. That's where 35,000 fans attended. Renee, the NWSL has now set 48 of the top 50 most attended matches in U.S. women's professional league sports history, which is amazing.
Shout out to our front office sports friend and colleague, Bay FC owner Leslie Osborne and her team for this club, this massive, massive opportunity for women's soccer because, as you mentioned, when you look at the history last year, when we saw it was at that time the Chicago Red Stars going up against Bay FC.
Yep.
That was at Wrigley Field. That was the then attendance record back in June 2024 of around 35,000. So whenever NWSL games go play at a baseball ballpark, numbers do tremendous. But it's interesting. Soccer started for MLS and NWSL games in the outfield of baseball ballparks and then shifted to their own soccer-specific stadiums. But I think it just shows when you have those marquee events that it does add a lot of flavor. And then on top of that, you have 4 first-half goals. You have, Bay FC nearly got an equalizer in stoppage time. So great soccer, great product, and another historic moment. And plus, actually, I will add to this, Baker, Bay FC is considering moving more of their facilities to San Francisco. They have a training facility they've just broken ground on. They have offices they're opening there. So in the future, when this 5-year lease with PayPal Park in San Jose, California runs out, they might be looking at moving to San Francisco.
Which by the way, that stadium that they're in is only averaging about 13,000 fans per game. So obviously great for them, but this is the same conversation we have with the WNBA. When they go to larger arenas, people will show up.
Especially in the Bay Area.
Well, fireworks erupted on the court for the first day of the U.S. Open as 13th ranked Daniil Medvedev was upset by Benjamin Bonzi. This after the match was delayed more than 6 minutes after a photographer had entered the court on match point, enraging Medvedev, who took out his displeasure with the umpire and the crowd. So let's get into that and more in today's main event. All right, let's bring in FOS reporter Colin Salau for more. So, Colin, where do we stand right now with this photographer and the latest with Daniil Medvedev here?
Yeah, so the U.S. Tennis Association said late last night that the photographer's credential had been revoked at the U.S. Open. Medvedev clearly unhappy, but he did say post-game that he wasn't unhappy at the photographer. He was unhappy with the call that was made by the umpire. The umpire, Greg Allensworth, being someone that's been controversial so far this year with, complaints from Riley Opelka, another U.S. Open tennis player at the Dallas Open. And Medvedev was just basically saying, like, I'm not happy that you gave Bonzi first serve when it was supposed to be second serve at that point. Ultimately, Medvedev was able to stretch it again and bring it to the 5th set where he would eventually lose, though.
Yeah, and Colin, I'm interested because with Medvedev's actions, the antics, the reactions, the crowd booing, and you even mentioned Riley Opelka, who had issues with this ump as well. I saw comments of people comparing the U.S. Open to kind of like WWE vibes. Is this essentially a change that we're seeing, that the U.S. Open needs to crack down on some of the logistics around media, umps, and these little details to get it right?
I think to a certain extent you can make that case. It's starting to happen in general. A lot of players have been complaining lately, not just the U.S. Open, but a lot of tennis tournaments about the noise in the crowd. But the U.S. Open, Americans tend to be one of the loudest ones. You can ask Arina Sabalenka about that. But I think at the same time, Medvedev is known in the tour as one of the more, I guess, like expressive characters. And he said it post-game as well. He said, well, I don't know if they're going to find me, but they don't like players like me and Nick Kyrgios. So I think there's a little bit of some players are this way. And it's going to be interesting to see how they crack down maybe on those players, as he said, pointing themselves out.
Yeah, Medvedev even saying the umpire gets paid by the game, not by longer periods of time, so he's obviously enjoying that. By the way, it's interesting because the Open started on a Sunday this year, Colin. Traditionally, it always starts on a Monday, but we've seen other Grand Slams start earlier as well.
Yeah, it is the 3rd of 4 Grand Slams, Wimbledon being the only one left that starts on a Monday. And it's really just a business decision, right? Players are obviously unhappy, largely because of the scheduling going a day earlier. It's closer to the Cincinnati Open. I mean, Carlos Alcaraz won the Cincinnati Open on Monday last week, and then he flew to New York and played at the mixed doubles on Tuesday. That's how tight this window is. But at the same time, it's a money thing. And Jesse Pegula, Francis Tiafoe, they've said, hey, we understand to a certain extent why this is the case. Yes, it's affecting us in a schedule standpoint, but it is a business. If you look at it from the perspective of a business side, from the U.S. Open, from the Australian Open, which moved it to a Sunday start last year, and the French Open that started this all in 2006, it's an extra weekend day. An extra day for fans to come out, more fans to come out. And even from a television standpoint, it's a Sunday. More people are going to watch TV on Sunday. So that's the business aspect of it. And unfortunately for the players, it stretches out the schedule. That being said, a lot of these players, if I'm not mistaken, maybe all of them who win on Sundays, they get 2 days rest.
Yes, they do.
So that is the one extra advantage with this start time for the players.
Yeah, of course, the U.S. Open singles winner will take home $5 million, the biggest Grand Slam payout amount. You're talking about the schedule. We're also looking at the drought of an American male on the single side of winning a Grand Slam. It's been 22 long years. Colin, what storylines are we most paying attention to? Is it the display of tennis on how they're evolving, or is it more about the individual storylines that people need to pay most attention to in the U.S. Open?
I think the big story in tennis right now is it going to be Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz for the third time. For the third time and for the fifth time this year, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, if they play in the Grand Slam, on the U.S. Open final, that will be the third time in a Grand Slam this year. That's a record. There's never been that in one single year. So if they're the two facing off, I think we really can say that we have our generation of the big three.
Yeah, Alcaraz playing Monday night and Sinner playing on Tuesday. Colin Salau, good stuff as always. Thank you, Colin. And coming up, some of the big headlines going into the NFL season, which starts in just a few days. We're going to be joined by a former Patriots great. Next, don't go anywhere.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
They're saying that he might be back for the start of the playoffs, but their playoff spot isn't secure with the Mariners bearing down on them and the wild card completely in flux. So this is like borderline red alert because the pitching staff has not been good. We have not seen good stuff from Framber Valdez. So now that the back end of the bullpen is not good, I don't know what to make of it.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The young Goddard angle too had the added PR campaign of like, do you want to take a New York and or a Jersey guy to play a New York Ryder Cup? Like the crowd juice there is going to be off the charts.
They would love. They would kill for him.
Chris Goddard like making a big putt, like popping the chain to the Bethpage crowd. Are you kidding me? There's some of these guys I just want to pick them because I want the visual, I want the memory.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee, Washington, Baker, Machado. We're now just days away from the NFL kickoff in Philadelphia. This is teams prepared to make their final cuts and adjustments in their roster ahead of the big games. So for a preview of what to expect this NFL season, let's bring in former Patriots great Devin McCourty. Of course, you can also see him on NBC's Football Night in America. Devin, great to have you here. We'll talk about some football here in just a moment, but I want to start with the pro athlete community. PAC, the organization that you're a part of, has now opened membership to all pro athletes across all leagues. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, like you said, pro athlete community, better known as PAC, unbelievable organization that started, and its main focus is when men and women walk away from whatever professional sport they're playing to walk into something new, whether that's an everyday job, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether that's investments, whether that's just having a healthy lifestyle with your family or figuring out what you want to do next personally. That's what it's all about. So we have different combines where guys come to or women come to. We have virtual events and virtual classrooms that you can go on a 10-week course and learn about, whether it's public speaking, whether it's real estate, all of these different tools, just so people, when they walk off the court, the diamond, the field, whatever it is, you don't feel like, man, my life's over, but you feel like, all right, I'm a new professional just stepping into a new arena. And it's been amazing to be the board co-chair along with my brother for a few years now, and we love every minute of it.
Devin, let's talk some football now. Obviously, teams tweaking their rosters ahead of the kickoff for next week between your Eagles next week, which is going to be really exciting. And
I
of
was
course,
going to say I was an Eagles fan.
The big question, will we see Micah Parsons actually get his contract with the Dallas Cowboys? What do you think? Is he going to be playing next week under a new deal?
You would think so. I think you saw Terry McLaurin's deal just got done in Washington. But I think this is the biggest question mark between him and Trey Hendrickson and all of football, that because of Jerry Jones, his strong personality and how he feels, you don't know. If it does get done, I think it'll be like Dak Prescott. It'll be either hours before, the day of. It'll be something kind of, I don't want to call it historic, but something that makes everybody talk about it and not talk about the game and the X's and O's. It'll definitely be front and center, but this remains to be seen. Usually I say these deals will definitely get done so the player can be out there for game one. But with Micah Parsons and the Cowboys, I'm not sure. I think this is 50-50 at best.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Something else that's 50-50 is Travis Hunter as a two-way player, splitting time between roles as receiver and quarterback. As someone that's played corner, that's played in such a high level in the NFL of success, I should say, when you look at Travis Hunter, does he have the skill set? Is he ready to fully step into a role to successfully be a two-way player in the NFL? He was fortunate to learn from one of the best in Deion Sanders in that, but do you think it'll translate now over to the pros?
Yeah, I think he has tremendous skill set to be really good at wide receiver or cornerback. I don't think he's going to play both sides the way that we envision the way he did at Colorado. I just don't see that. I think he will have a package on whatever side of the ball, but I think he'll have a main focus. I think Jacksonville's done a good job of, we don't know which one that'll be. We don't know if it'll be mainly corner or mainly receiver, but I do think they're going to have him focus on one. And I think they did the preseason the right way. Let him get out there, do both, keep the other teams guessing. But I think it's a little too hard. You can't be in two different meeting rooms at one time. Deion Sanders, he was a corner, but he also can go on as a receiver, be dynamic, make plays. I think they'll do different things to get Travis Hunter with the ball in his hands, but I think he'll be either a primary receiver or corner.
Let's move to Travis Hunter's former teammate, Shedeur Sanders. Really struggled in his last preseason game with the Browns over the weekend. Joe Flacco obviously named the starter for this team, but who do you think ends up being the starter by the end of the season for Cleveland? And are you surprised that they're going into the regular season with 4 quarterbacks on their roster?
No, I think who ends up being quarterback is yet to be determined. I don't think it will be Joe Flacco all throughout the year. I think Kenny Pickett was the favorite coming in. I think they wanted Kenny Pickett to be the starter. He got hurt. I think they really like Dylan Gabriel. They drafted him for a reason. They've seen some good things. I sometimes feel bad for Shedeur because Shedeur's a 5th-round draft pick, which I heard a lot of people talking about the last preseason game. It wasn't fair. He was in the game with a lot of guys that got cut. Like, that's what life is like in a 5th-round draft pick. You get in the game, you try to make the best of your opportunities. It's going to be some good, which Shedeur had, and some bad. That's the life of a rookie. I think he's played well, and I think he's going to earn opportunities throughout the year. But I think it'll turn into either Dylan Gabriel or Kenny Pickett, who eventually becomes the starter in Cleveland. And I think a healthy Kenny Pickett will get the first opportunity.
All right, well, I want to shift over to your former coach, Bill Belichick, because as you mentioned, 13 seasons with the Patriots. I feel like you know Bill very well, to say the least. And to see his ahead of his debut with UNC, he had comments about his excitement down with the UNC of it's a lot of football, there's not much in your way, and he even mentioned there's no owner, there's no owner's son, there's no cap, everything that goes into marketing and everything else, which I'm all for that. Did you perceive during your time in New England any sort of riff or even signs that maybe Robert Kraft or the Krafts in general were too hands-on with Bill Belichick and the Patriots front office?
No, I mean, I think they did a hell of a job of making sure we stayed focused on the day-to-day, and that was to go out there and win football games. I'm sure, like any relationship, when you work together for 20-odd years and you're making tough decisions, there was, I'm sure, a lot of back and forth and some disagreements. But I will say they did a good job of not letting it kind of flow down into the locker room or to the captains of us having to be in the middle of it. So we didn't know. I mean, obviously, we had, ideas about different things that, they might have disagreed on. But I would say now that the relationship has ended, it's been comical to see the kind of back and forth media shots and petty shots they kind of take at each other. But it's for me now in the media, it's great entertainment. I love talking about it. But as a former player, it's pretty funny to watch.
Yeah, former Patriots great Devin McCourty. Of course, you can watch him on NBC Sunday Night Football as well. Devin, thank you so very much for joining us here on Front Office Sports today.
No problem. Thanks, you guys, for having me on.
All right, and coming up next on the show, everyone, Tommy Fleetwood gets his first PGA Tour win in 15 years. We're dissecting that when we return.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Here's the irony with this group. They're going all in a row, 27, 28, 29, and 30 at wide receiver. All of these guys have a huge fantasy upside. They're all being drafted as wide receiver threes, and I think all of them are going to outperform that ADP. Calvin Ridley could end up as a low-end 1, high-end 2. George Pickens, I think, is going to end up being a solid back-end wide receiver 2 at the end of the day.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers were playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now it's 18-17, they're one game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Spartans. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington, Baker Machado. Well, entering in the weekend, Renee, golfer Tommy Fleetwood had never won a single tournament in his 15-year pro career. He went 0 for 163 in PGA Tour starts, but finally, after all that heartbreak, the 34-year-old won the Tour Championship in Atlanta on Sunday and that $10 million prize. So let's bring in FOS reporter David Rumsey for more. So just how big of a win was this for Fleetwood, David?
Baker, it was huge. I mean, this has been a storyline all season. Twice, Tommy Fleetwood had 54-hole leads after the third round, and he was not able to convert. And then he finally was able to do it on the biggest of stages. And now he has won previously on the European Tour, the DP World Tour, multiple times years ago, but he had been searching forever for that first PGA Tour victory with, stronger competition, and he really got it done in a big way. Tour Championship, he becomes the FedEx Cup champion, winning that tournament outright, and as you said, $10 million prize.
Yeah, and guys, in those 15 years, in the 163 starts, 44 top 10, 30 top 5 PGA Tour finishes before he finally got one. And I'm wondering, David, given the changes that we've seen in the PGA Tour, specifically rule changes like the stroke advantage, but also changes in the purse with the official money, how much does that benefit Fleetwood with this win?
Yeah, it's a great question because there has been a lot of changes hitting the PGA Tour this year mid-season, which is kind of unprecedented for a lot of professional sports leagues. And what you're referring to about the official money, for people that aren't up to speed on that, as we've been reporting on at Front Office Sports, is because there was changes to the Tour Championship this year and there was no more starting strokes that they've had since 2019, then all the money that was up for grabs, $40 million purse at the Tour Championship, the largest on the PGA Tour, it's all official money. It counts towards the season-long money list, towards a player's career earnings. And previously, last year, when Scottie Scheffler won the FedEx Cup at the Tour Championship, that $25 million prize was just counted as bonus money. So his wallet's not hurting. It doesn't change anything, but that money was only counted as bonus money. But now that $10 million that Fleetwood won goes to his career earnings, to his season-long earnings. So that actually helped him pass Rory McIlroy on the season-long list. So Tommy Fleetwood is now the second highest earner on the PGA Tour this season, right behind Scottie Scheffler.
Wow, what a year for him. Yeah, with your first win. What an amazing moment. And obviously you mentioned Scottie Scheffler. He finished fourth, a tie for fourth. But what makes this more interesting, David, this is his 14th straight top 8 finish. That is the longest streak since Ben Hogan had 14 in a row back in the 1950s.
Yeah, it's just been incredible. It's the fourth straight year where Scottie Scheffler has finished the season earning the most money on the PGA Tour. He's been ranked #1 forever at this point now in the world. And actually, he didn't win, but his T4 finish did give him another $2+ million check, and that took him past Phil Mickelson's PGA Tour career earnings. So Scottie Scheffler is now just over $98 million, and in third place on the PGA Tour all-time money list behind Tiger Woods and McIlroy. And the pace that he's on, he might catch McIlroy next year, and maybe even Tiger, who knows.
Yeah, moving up in career earnings and also 21 consecutive rounds in the 60s. Scottie Scheffler definitely in a league of his own. But when you've had a chance to look at this now, looking back, is the hype as big as we're seeing with Scottie Scheffler? I mean, he's on a stretch right now. We've talked about it beyond just golf. That's impressive for sports.
I think it is, and I think the next big thing to watch on the business front is, are people tuning into these final rounds even when he doesn't win, but when he is in contention? Because we saw that a lot with Tiger Woods back in the day. People would watch even if he was in the top 10 just to see if he had a chance. And as you're mentioning, he really does have a chance to win every time he's on that leaderboard.
All right, David Rumsey for us. Thank you, David. And let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Well, Renee, the NFL has a new first-of-its-kind multi-year partnership with Abercrombie & Fitch. This is the league's official fashion partner. This will see players like Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, and more all be featured in Abercrombie's Style Concierge campaign. They'll wear limited edition apparel and designs for the upcoming season. Now, both men's and women's apparel representing all 32 NFL teams, including hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and more, all available at select Abercrombie stores and, of course, on Abercrombie's website. This was not a partnership I thought I would ever see on my bingo card before together, but this is the first time the NFL has ever done something like this.
But not the first league. I mean, we saw the NBA, the WNBA, USA Basketball partner with Skims, for example.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot more crossover between fashion and leagues, especially in this era of tunnel walks and fit checks and just the entire apparel that's overlapping in the sport. So for our teenage selves that loved an Abercrombie & Fitch, they've actually been doing a great job in sales. I was reading some of the numbers. They've been up like 16% growth last year, consistently, I should say, being able to appeal beyond the teenage demographic to a more sophisticated crowd. I think this is a big part of that. And for the NFL, they've said this is part of what they want to tap into in their dynamic style, in the culture, in growing their leaders in the fashion community. And what a better way to do it.
I mean, you're so right. What a rebound for Abercrombie & Fitch, which had gone through a lot of tumultuous years as a brand, to now being the official partner of the NFL. Can't wait to see Taylor Swift wearing some of these things. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We have a very busy week ahead for you on Front Office Sports today. We'll see you next time.
Hi, guys.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.